New Orleans Saints set up for a Monday night football contest on the frozen tundra, which will be about frozen on Monday night. The high on Monday in Green Bay is like 23 or 24, and the sun's going to go down. So it's going to be real chilly up there in Green Bay, and the Saints have a decision to make as to who their starting quarterback is going to be. Derek Carr is not going to be available this week. It's going to be Rattler or Haener, and I made the case yesterday that it's got to be Rattler, because of the upside, because of the potential, and because Haener didn't really show much in his opportunity there. And I was careful to tell you that I'm not trying to erase a person's career based on one half of football. Jake Haener was bad on Sunday in the first half. No two ways about it. And that doesn't mean his career's over, but I just feel like it's pretty obvious that Spencer Rattler needs to be given that opportunity moving forward this year. Now, we know that Spencer Rattler's first go at this was not very good. He was thrown in there against Tampa. He went 22 of 40 for 55%, threw for 241 and a touchdown. He was picked off twice. That wasn't great. Came back against Denver in the Dome. The Saints scored 10 points that day. He was 25 of 35. He threw for 172 yards and no touchdowns. He got sacked 6 times in that game. He was sacked 5 times in the game before against Tampa. So that's 11 sacks in his first 2 games. That's not very good. And then they played at L.A. The Saints scored 8 points in that game. He was 50%, 12 of 24, didn't throw a touchdown, and got sacked 3 more times. So you're talking about a completion percentage in the neighborhood of 58% or so. You're talking about a guy that was sacked 14 times in 3 games. He threw 1 touchdown and 2 picks. It was not good, and I'm not here to sell you a bill of goods that it was good. However, if we go a little bit deeper into that, how bad a spot was it for him? And we did talk about that before it happened, and it was terrible. You had both guards out and your starting center out. You had banged up wide receivers. Taysom Hill wasn't available. Like, it was awful what he was put into at that point. And you add in the fact that Tampa, who he started his first game against, top 15 pressure team, and then the 5th highest blitz rate in the NFL. That's a team that wants to dial it up. That's not a great matchup for a player in his first start. And then you play the Broncos, who generated the 2nd highest pressure rate in the league, and Rattler was pressured on almost half his dropbacks. You've got a really high-end defensive front in Denver against a mash unit offensively for the Saints. That's not great, and it wasn't great, as he was, again, pressured on half his dropbacks. And then you played the Chargers, who were the number 1 ranked scoring defense in the NFL. Nobody in the NFL is atrocious on defense. They're pros out there. But there are some situations that are worse than others, and I would suggest and submit that Rattler's spot there, with a terrible offensive personnel setting and the defenses he was playing against, not the best landing spot for a rookie quarterback. But now you've got a couple of weeks here against teams that may give you a better opportunity to thrive. Green Bay, while a good football team, and it's going to be a tough environment and awful conditions for a kid who's from the Southwest and played in the SEC, you're talking about a team in Green Bay that's bottom 5 in terms of pressure in the league. That's a benefit, and your offensive line's pretty healthy. Next week against the Raiders, well, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. So these next 2 weeks, at least as far as the matchup goes for Spencer Rattler, make a little bit more sense as a softer landing pad. Rattler did a great one-on-one. It was an exclusive interview with LouisianaSports.net that Ross Jackson put up, and he said, look, I have had an opportunity to kind of go back and look at that month and dive into what I did right and what I did wrong. And, of course, there are a lot of things you had to get to, but he felt like one of the things that he struggled with was his mentality. And when you go play, for lack of a better term, defensively against teams that are so aggressive, you're just playing on your heels the entire time. And you've got the Bucs breathing down your neck and the Broncos breathing down your neck and the Chargers breathing down your neck, and you're terrified to make a mistake. And he didn't throw an interception in the last 2 games. It wasn't like he was a turnover machine, but he just played defensively. And I thought if you look at the game against Washington on Sunday, that he was more aggressive, that he was more assertive. He wasn't reckless, but he was you were in a spot where you had to try to come back. It didn't do you any good to sit there and be passive, to check it down and run draw plays and throw it away and take sacks. Like, it paid to go play. And it may pay to go play against teams that don't send a lot of pressure. You ought to have more time to make decisions. Your offensive line ought to have a better opportunity to keep you clean. And then you see if that arm talent can take over. You still don't have the requisite wide receivers out there. We get that. There just aren't enough guys on this team that are healthy, that are difference makers on the edge. So I don't think that Rattler's going to light it up for the next 2 weeks. But it stands to reason that it could look similarly to the Washington game, assuming the Saints can run it a little bit and they don't get into a lot of third and longs that create pressure packages. The Packers are not the best defense in the league. The Raiders sure not the best in the league. This may be the turning point for some confidence for Spencer Rattler. I would sincerely prefer if we were sitting here just breaking down how this Saints offense matched up against the Packers defense and how the Packers offense matched up against the Saints defense, and we were looking at what Tampa and the Falcons were doing this week, and we were right in the middle of a monster division race and looking towards home field advantage. We're not. We're looking at the potential future of the franchise, and we continue to do so every single day. And in this instance, I think it's reasonable to suggest that Spencer Rattler can progress and do really well the next 2 and potentially 3 weeks. Who knows? You get 2 weeks of confidence against lesser defenses. You get a second crack at Tampa. You know a little bit more about what they want to do, and you're healthier up front. Maybe this is the confidence boon that we're looking for. On the flip side, if Spencer Rattler is awful the next 2 weeks, it's another data point. It, again, doesn't disqualify him from a career in the NFL, but if you're the Saints front office and you're looking at the biggest overhaul this franchise has seen in 17 years, you need the information on Spencer Rattler. He could be part of this. And if it looks really, really bad, you start to pivot and understand that, well, Derek Carr's the quarterback next year, and it doesn't feel like his heir apparent is on the roster. Doesn't mean it can't be, but it doesn't feel like it is. If you have that information, you're more armed to go into the offseason and make the proper moves. It's tough to judge a rookie quarterback against 3 high-end defenses with nothing around him in the offense. If it happens over 5 or 6 games that are in more advantageous situations this coming 15 days, well, then you may have your answer. I'm not saying you definitely do, but you may. So to me, this is a no-brainer on who to start. This is a different look for him. This is a new window in which to evaluate, and there will be new information available to the Saints about Spencer Rattler here coming up starting on Monday. We'll start to more closely look at Green Bay coming up here, but I think this week is more about talking about where the Saints are and what they're doing, and at quarterback, it's a relevant talking point. So that's my thoughts on Spencer Rattler getting the opportunity for the Saints. That hasn't been announced. We'll learn more with practice availability coming tomorrow, and then practice availability coming up on Friday and Saturday. But I just can't imagine they would go another way. We'll learn more. We'll let you know about it here on the Hunt Palmer Show, and certainly Ross Jackson will have you covered over on LouisianaSports.net. Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.